So for those of you guys who are watching this video who follow multiple sports around the world, you guys would probably know that in the history of those sports, they will tend to lie about their players' heights to either make them shorter than what they are or taller than what they are for some random reason. For example, the NBA is kind of notoriously known for this. Obviously, the National Basketball Association have lied about players' heights for a long time, up until like the last 5 or 10 years. I mean, one of the most notorious ones were Kevin Durant, who I think when he came into the NBA, he was actually listed as like 6'7", 201 centimeters tall or something like that, which we obviously know is really untrue. I mean, for years and years, this 6'7" NBA player was, you know, being compared to other players height-wise when he would stand next to them in a photo or something, and he'd be standing next to like a 7-foot center and would legitimately be like the same height. So obviously people called the NBA out for this, and the NBA would actually go on to remeasure every single player's height. Again, the evidence they found was pretty insane. Like, I think Kevin Durant was changed from 6'7" to like 6'11", which is a massive, pretty much 4-inch increase to what he actually was. Again, he confirmed that the reason he lied about his height and said he was 6'7" is that he wanted coaches to play him in the small forward position, which was typically around that height, rather than them playing him in the power forward or center position, which would have been about, you know, the 6'9" to 7 foot type of range. Again, he's not the only guy to do this. LeBron James was originally listed at 6'7" and got changed to 6'9". It's been happening so much in the history of sports, and the NBA is a massive example about this. But what if I told you guys that Australia's biggest sport, the AFL, of course, my favorite sport, I'm sure most of you guys who are watching this video's favorite sport, what if I told you guys that the AFL is actually becoming dangerously annoying with how much they are, of course, lying about AFL players' heights these days? Again, I've seen a couple of really weird ones that I just felt like I not only have to make a video on this because I think it's quite interesting, but also because, I mean, I've got no other video ideas and I've got to afford my KFC Zinger boxes somehow, right? I'm sure some of you guys are interested in this. Again, it is becoming extremely more and more common in today's AFL, where you are seeing so many players and AFL teams lie about their heights. Again, the AFL is no stranger to this. For example, from what has been said in the 80s and 90s, the AFL, or VFL it was known by then, was notorious for lying about players' heights. For example, I actually work with a guy by the name of Ray, who I think he played VFL in the late 70s to early 80s or something like that. I think he played a lot of twos, and he obviously played in the main competition, I think, a fair amount of games too, but he always said that his hammies let him down in his career. He actually said that when he used to play, he was listed as 6 foot on the trading cards or whatever, when in fact he's lucky to be 5'9.5" on a good day. Again, I'm personally 5'8" myself, and this guy is not that much taller than me to the point where I can be like, oh yeah, this guy's 6 foot tall. Well, no, he's not. He'd be lucky to be 5'9.5" on his good day, 5'10" on a really good day. But yeah, he obviously always talked about that he wasn't the only player whose height was lied about, and that pretty much the whole team's heights were like lied about at one stage. Again, the AFL is becoming notoriously bad for this in today's day, because I feel like in the 2000s and 2010s, it wasn't as rough as what it is now. But there are a couple of circumstances that I wanted to point out that I just think are really funny. And one of them does happen to be Nick Watson, the Wizard, in the AFL for the Hawthorn Football Club. Again, when Nick Watson was coming through to the AFL as an under 18s year old player, he was listed at, I believe, 166 centimeters tall, about probably 5'5", right? He was pretty much listed as, and look, yes, people can grow. In fact, men typically can still grow until they're like 21. In fact, some of them, I think, rarely have still grown after the fact. And there is still a chance that Nick Watson has grown a couple centimeters, and I genuinely believe he possibly has. But when you look at these pictures of Nick Watson, right, you see this guy standing back to back with Eddie Betts, who is listed as 174 centimeters, and you can clearly see there is some height difference, of course, happening here. In fact, there are a couple of angles about this, which is really, really funny. And when people in the comment section actually called, you know, the AFL, and I think it was Fox Footy who posted it out, Eddie Betts is 174, but Eddie looks way taller. How is this possible? Fox Footy, I believe, actually deleted the video and like 5 minutes later posted another angle of them where they're standing head to head. And of course, they actually look very, very similar height. But in saying that, you can still, you know, tell that Eddie is at least a little bit more than a centimeter taller. And some people were saying in the comments on the repost, they literally just walked back over and said, Nick, we need you to stand on your tippy toes to be able to do this. Again, I don't know if it's that serious. I mean, I've personally seen Nick Watson before IRL. I think I saw him like at Caulfield or something like that. And I can say that I think he is a little bit shorter than me. Again, I don't think he's 166. I think he may be a tiny bit taller than that. But I mean, look at this goddamn angle, bro, of Nick Watson and Eddie Betts together. We can gang up and bully on Nick Watson for having his height lied about. But at the end of the day, I don't think he's the biggest culprit. In fact, I think there's another guy who is a massive culprit of this. And that does happen to be Maurice Rioli Jr. of the Richmond Football Club. I mean, if you actually check out how tall Maurice Rioli Jr. is, I believe the Richmond website, they have him listed as 179 centimeters tall. They've got him listed as 179 centimeters tall, while Daniel Rioli, I think that Morris is actually his uncle or something like that. Daniel Rioli is also listed as 179 centimeters tall. What's really interesting about this is, it is very clear that Maurice Rioli Jr. is goddamn not 179 centimeters tall. Look at this picture of Maurice and Daniel Rioli standing next to each other, right? This is a recent photo too. So you're telling me both of the guys who are 179 centimeters tall are both the same height, and Daniel just looks at least 6 or so centimeters taller. I mean, the fact is that if you do look at this, you can't even say it's the angle's fault or anything like that, because this isn't even a bad angle. This is legitimately both of these blokes standing next to each other that you would just take on like a freaking Saturday night out. Like me and my mate standing next to each other. I can't be like, look, there's a bad angle here, you know, I'm leaning down or anything like that. There is no one really leaning. I mean, Morris might be slightly leaning into Daniel Rioli here, but yeah, you can clearly tell this is not 179 centimeters, you know, each. And I mean, you can see pictures of people who take photos with Maurice Rioli Jr. Like, even I know a guy who is, I think, 176 centimeters tall. So he's got a picture with Maurice Rioli and he's taller than him. Like, I don't know. I think Maurice personally is probably about 173, 174, my height. But he's goddamn not 179 centimeters tall. So there are definitely a lot of shorter players in the AFL right now whose heights are being lied about. Of course, there are taller players whose heights are obviously being lied about as well, who may actually be taller than legitimately what they are. That's just the reality of situations, right? But the thing is, it is a bit of a question on why the AFL is doing this. Like, why are we so ashamed of people being shorter than their actual height? Like, I think Maurice Rioli, Are we ashamed of that this guy is only 5'8" and he's not actually 5'10"? Like, why are we actually doing this? I think it's a little bit strange in my opinion. I mean, yeah, it's very weird. Like, I think even Caleb Daniels' height got changed. I think he on the AFL website is like 171 now. And I think when he originally came in the AFL, he was like 167, 168. And you watch him play and he's definitely not 171. It is very, very strange. I don't know why the AFL seems to be ashamed of their players' heights. I would absolutely love for them to do what the NBA did a couple of years ago and just go through and remeasure everyone, because I guarantee you there would be some really, really funny changes, especially to players like I think Nick Watson, Caleb Daniel, and Maurice Rioli Jr. that I would just like to see. Like, I mean, why not for the shorter kings out there? Like, I'm not overly tall, right? I'm only 5'8". Why not have players' heights be actually what they are? Because I guarantee you there is a bunch of blokes out there who are probably like 5'5", 5'6", who would absolutely love to know the fact that their AFL players are literally running out there who are the same height as them. So, I mean, I don't know why the AFL is doing it. I think it'd be really cool if they actually went and changed it, because, yeah, players have been lying about their heights for years now, and a lot of leagues have corrected this, like the NBA. I think it's time for the AFL to follow suit, because I think it'd be funny to see some of the evidence on what the players' heights actually are. Again, I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. Have you guys ever noticed any of this? Has it ever like gone on your mind, or am I just tripping out here and I'm the only one who semi cares about it? Again, I don't really, but I just think it's funny and something to talk about, I suppose. Again, subscribe to my gaming channel, my sports channel, which is this one, and I guess I'll be seeing you guys next time. Goodbye.